So welcome everybody. Today on this day of the World Childless Week, we are talking about a very interesting question that we receive from parents very often. So I'm happy to present to you, if you don't know her, this is the lovely Kate Kaufmann, my friend. Hi, Kate.
And this is the lovely Catherine-Emmanuelle.
Kate is the author of Do You Have Kids? Life When the Answer is No. And if you could present me, my friend.
Happily to do so. And Catherine-Emmanuelle has been talking about not having kids on the blog as well as a therapist in Montreal, Canada. And I am down in Portland, Oregon.
Thank you.
Talk about Childless Week, and I just love having the frank kinds of conversations that we can have with each other. And now we have a chance to talk about how do we try to have frank conversations with people who are saying what things are really hurtful and silly things, ridiculous things that people feel sometimes free to launch our direction.
Yeah. And the topic of today is that particular sentence that we hear very often as childless women: you're so lucky you don't have kids. Whew, just saying it feels kind of, oh my God, so heavy, eh? Just, and the first reaction actually that I used to have when I would get this kind of sentence thrown at me, first of all, when I was in the pit of my grief, I remember feeling very, very defensive about it, feeling like I wanted to respond and attack verbally the person that was just throwing that sentence to me, assuming that my story or my experience was just super picture perfect. So it kind of denies the drama, the loss of the experience of being childless. So this is the first, I don't know about you, if you felt very defensive of that sentence when you were experiencing a lot of grief.
Oh, for me, absolutely I did. And even hearing you say it, it does continue to take my breath away. And I think one of the things that I have found really interesting is that usually when people say stupid stuff, it's really more about them. And so it's one of those other distractions, because I think what we're supposed to say is, oh, it must be really hard what you're going through and being frustrated. Tell me all about it. But I don't actually want to hear about it. So I've been trying to figure out what to do with that, because it's not a conversation starter. It's a conversation derailer.
Oh, wow, I love that. The way
redirect the conversation when you're on the different things.
Actually, so then at first I talked about our defensiveness. So when we receive that and we are in the pit of grief, the only thing we want to do is response and attack. But then when we do the grief work, what we can try to learn to do is take the time to stop and see how it sits in our bodies. What is our reaction when we receive that kind of sentence, and try to stop and take a time to look at how it feels for us to receive that, and give ourselves self-compassion for how it is hurtful for us because most of the people that tell these sentences have no clue about the impact that it has on us. And the only person that can take care of us, the best person, is ourselves. So when we just try to just stop and take a look at, wow, this is, oh my God, first, this is so triggering. This is so hard to receive. This feels like, so bad. And then when we take this time to stop and look at how it sits with us, then we can find the right words to express that in particular. What is the impact of these kinds of messages on us? And try to find the courage to stand up for ourselves and say, you know what? This is hard. This is hard to receive because it's still a tender space for me, because it's not that picture perfect to be a childless woman. And I don't want to dramatize it. It's just denying the fact that it is not a picture perfect experience.
And you know what strikes me is the person who's saying that, I think there's something that they are frustrated about, and they're not usually thinking about how this might land with another person. You know, they're projecting onto us what they're lacking. We're doing the same thing as we're projecting onto them how wonderful their life must be because they have these cute little kids that do all these darling little things, and they feel like they fit in because they're in the mainstream and we're not. And so I think what we're talking about here is so how do we build those muscles? Because it's not like people are not going to say mindless, hurtful things to us. It's going to happen forever. I wish I could say, oh yeah, there's like, once you turn 53, people don't say it to you anymore. I'm sorry, I'm 71 and people still say super stupid things and hurtful things that kind of just knock you off track. So we got to build our muscles to, and our repertoire, I guess is the way I think about it, that like you say, you go in, you figure out, where am I right now? And what do I want this person to know? Who are they? Are they a stranger? To me, strangers are like, yeah, I'm going to go in there and I'm just going to see how it feels to go, that is really inappropriate. You know, just those things that are more just blatantly, plainly honest and not dressed up because I'm not as invested in the person.
In the relationship.
Yeah, that's building a muscle.
Yeah, for sure. For sure, it's building a muscle. So it depends on the value of the relationship and how profound it is and how important it is for you. This will make your answer vary, for sure. So have you thought, Kate, of answers, or have you given answers to that question in your life experience that you could share with us?
Well, I have, and the only reason I have is because I write about it all the time. In my journals, I can go back to old journals and I'm writing about what can I say, how can I do that? And so in the back of my head and in my heart, I have like this whole dialogue and a whole list of things that range from what? Which then someone will start back and say, oh, yeah, okay, that's not, sorry, I didn't mean to do that. Which then I can just move on and feel like, okay, they're registering that they're talking to me. Or, yeah, I think you're seeing things maybe with the grass is greener. I can do the same to you. Do you want to talk about what's behind all of that for both of us? because I don't want to hear why they think my life is so romantic, and nor do I really want to hear about how hard it is for them to have kids. But if we can do back and forth, like,
Yeah.
well, okay, well, let me tell you what that does when you say that to me, if we have that kind of a relationship. And sometimes I can just say something like, you know what, you can't know, you really can't know what this is like for me, or I'm not in a space to hear this about right now, or maybe never, I'm never going to want to know. Or what do you think you would have done with your life had you not had kids? Oh, you're going to sit around? No, you're not going to sit and have brunch every day and sleep in late. You're not. You're going to have hardships and challenges just like I have.
Mhm.
They're just a little different.
Yeah.
I know I have a friend who, when she and I had a sincere conversation, she apologized about some stuff she had said like 15 years ago. And I said, well, thank you for that. And had I had issues in the time, I would have probably asked you if you could not nurse your baby in front of me during our book group. But at that time, it didn't bother me for some reason. It could have at other times. But I said, if you can find a way to be curious about what it's like for other people. And she came back and she was so excited. She said, when you said that to me, Kate, it gave me license to talk to my hairdresser. I've never asked her what her life is like not having kids and what matters to her. And she said, I did that. And it was so interesting.
Hmm.
And so it's like, it can be life-changing when we actually muster up the guts to say something that reframes
Mhm.
the comment into more of a curiosity. And if we can guide that shift,
Yeah.
what do you do with it, Catherine-Emmanuelle?
Well, I find that very interesting what you're talking about, curiosity, because this takes us out of assumptions, just trying to get to know better the experience of the other person, which is the, for me, which is the point of life, basically. This is what I'm trying to do with my clients. I'm trying to get to know what they experience, how they experience it, and how they can live better with it. So this is, yeah, I think it's very, very important to get curious of each other's lives and experiences, because this takes us out of judgment. And this creates deep connection also. We're out of the superficial ping pong match. This is not about, life is not about that. So what we want is deep understanding, deep connection, and deep comprehension about both of our experiences. But on my part, it depended on the where I was in my grief process. You know, at the beginning, I would not answer anything to that statement. You're so lucky you don't have kids. Like, I could not get it together. I just felt like crying, like just didn't know what to respond, because I was so devastated about the outcome of my life. And then with the time, it just what came up for me is just say, well, you know, life is not a picture perfect fairy tale. It's like, I'm lucky for certain things, of course. I'm lucky to have a kind of freedom of time. I think that is something very important for me that I cherish. I have more freedom to do what I want with my time. But in a strange way, my life is less ruled by rituals that come with having a family. And that I miss. So, it's never perfect on both sides.
It's never perfect. And maybe that's a simple thing to be able to say. It's never perfect as a way of just buffering a moment to go, all right, now who is this person? How do I want to deal with them? And I'm struck by something that I remember teaching myself or reading somewhere when I was doing online dating is, it's like, oh, come on, this is so stupid. And how do I have an actual real conversation? And then hit me like, oh, in order to have a real conversation and really get to know someone, somebody has to go at risk first. And so do I want to be the one to go at risk? This person's already going at their version of risk by saying something that is really hard for me to hear.
Mm.
So if they've already launched, oh, you're so lucky not to have kids, can I reframe that as an invitation and say, honestly, I hear what you're saying, but can we just acknowledge neither of us can really have insights into each other's experiences? I'm happy to share with you some of the challenges in having this space to fill for an entire life, knowing that I'm not going to have a child of my own. Now, there's some really interesting stuff to talk about there. And
Yeah.
all the children that I am close to belong to someone else.
Yeah.
And what is that like? I can share that with you if you actually want to hear, but if you don't, if you want me to empathize with how hard your life is, I'm probably not the best person to choose, because like you, I'm romanticizing what your life is like.
Yeah. So if you're up for a deep conversation, I'm in. But if you're staying on this surface level, count me out. So this is all about basically wanting to be vulnerable. Are you willing to be vulnerable with me? If you are, we're going to dig deep in this conversation. If you're not, well, I'm not the right person for you, and you're not the right person for me to be in my life.
And in mediation, one of the things I do volunteer mediation work. And one of the questions that we often ask is, so what's behind this? There's something going on behind this. And if you can share with me what that is, not about what's going on with the kids and what they did that was misbehaving and whatever, but what's going on with you behind this that makes this an important thing for you to let me know? Because there's something else there.
Mm-hmm. What needs attention, tenderness, loving? What needs to be heard? What's there behind that sentence?
And what do I want you to know about me? Because my experience is completely different than yours.
Exactly. Yeah. So the thing is, it's been very important, that part in my work, to have parents and non-parents, try to have them meet together and try to understand both their differences. And I think it's the only way we can change the perception in society about childlessness, is for these two groups to stop judging each other and engage in more deep and vulnerable conversations out of the assumptions, like in the title of this conversation, you're so lucky you don't have kids.
Right.
Yeah.
truly.
So, my friend, I thank you very much for this lovely conversation we had today. And did you want to add something else to our conversation?
I do. I want to add something that you said at the beginning is it really is important to assess and get in touch with where am I right in this moment? Because it's also entirely legitimate to excuse yourself, roll
Oh, yeah.
your eyes, and leave. It could have some magic text appear on your phone that you need to take care of right away and get the heck out of there.
Yeah,
Um, the
totally.
most important thing is to take care of yourself. And if we've done one thing today, it's that in that one moment that you think you might want to try something that's being a little more honest and straightforward, go ahead and do it and see how it works. See how you feel about yourself more than the way that the other person is responding, because you won't ever really know that, but you'll know what it feels like inside to actually show up authentically as you are. And that's why we're at World Childless Week, because we all have so much in common, and we build the strength by hearing each other's stories, and then we can take it out into the world.
Yeah, and I would add also, when you try something new and you do not feel sure about yourself, try to find yourself a buddy, a debrief buddy, just to talk about these situation and challenge yourself, and just have a safe space to say how it made you feel to try something new, and how your body thinks about what you did, how you did it, and how you could practice and maybe do better next time. So I think it's very important to be able to share and with someone that really that gets it in a safe space afterwards. And
And you
to
know what hits me is this is something I love every year that you and I have had these conversations, that we get to share ideas and thoughts. And I like that we do it. You bring me to remember things that were important to me when I was younger. And I hope that I bring to you some perspective about a little bit more time on Earth and actually trying a little bit harder to get connected with other people. It feeds me, and I know it feeds you. And then we have this beautiful relationship that we get to talk really honestly with each other.
yeah. Well, with that being said, thank you, my friend. It's always a pleasure to talk with you.
Me too.
So see you soon. Take care.